coming to light now, and we're all part of this battle.
Yeah.
And it is really life and death, and not just on the physical battlefield, but the ideological battlefield, because we see Jews being murdered everywhere.
Yeah. And what's really interesting, it's tragic to me, is that people don't seem to put one and one and make two. You see the terrible, terrible slander, blood libels against Israel. You see anti-Semitism rising. You see Islamism rising. Oh, coincidence, because that's how anti-Semitism has risen. And still people who are giving a platform to these lies don't take responsibility for the rise of anti-Semitism or don't see that there's a connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, it comes down to this co-opting of human rights terminology, because what happens here, and it's the most nefarious type of anti-Semitism, I believe, even more than on the far right, because it's under the guise of human rights.
Yes.
So it makes you feel like the good guy.
Yes.
And think about it. That is such a powerful driver.
Yes.
If you think you're doing a good thing for the world
really
and you're
do.
saving lives.
They really
They really, really do. A lot of the far right, they kind of know, okay, they've got the ideology and they think what they're doing is good for their race or their people.
Yeah.
But here it's more expansive, and I think it's way more pernicious.
I mean, I completely agree. And we're seeing also Israel's isolation in the international arena with the ICJ and the ICC. And UNRWA, thank God for Mark Rubio, when he came out the other day. Well, he was here. I mean, we've had, and this is, I guess, where the accusation of, Israel's becoming a vassal state, because we had Trump. Then we had Kushner and Witkoff coming and going twice. They apparently love this restaurant in Nahalat Binyamin and the Kempinski, because they're there the whole time. And then you had Vance, and then you had Rubio. Rubio was staying around the corner from me this weekend. I saw the huge cars in the Orient. And you think, and Rubio got up on stage and said, yes, there may be UN forces for the rebuilding of Gaza, or there may be UN forces for the food distribution in the future, but UNRWA cannot stay in the picture, which was honestly the best thing that's happened here over the last few weeks, because UNRWA is complicit with Hamas, in bed with Hamas, and many of its workers were part of the October the 7th massacre, and took hostages, etc.
UNRWA's not going to play any role in it. Okay. UNRWA's not going to play any role in it. The UN is here. The UN is. We're seeing the work they're doing. The World Food Program. There's also not-profit NGOs, humanitarian assistance organizations that are involved in this. Samaritan's Purse. So it's a conglomeration of about 8 to 12 groups that are here. The United Nations is here. They're on the ground. We're willing to work with them if they can make it work, but not UNRWA. UNRWA became a subsidiary of Hamas.
He's come and said that, and it almost feels that maybe the administration, the nuances in the administration confuse people.
Oh, definitely. What we know, is that J.D. Vance has his eyes on the presidency, on the next election, after
on the primaries,
Trump, and Rubio does too. And Rubio and J.D. Vance are actually in different camps. Now, J.D. Vance has been moderating his more isolationist views.
Yes.
Rubio is much more openly pro-Israel, helping Israel, seeing Israel as an ally. JD. Now, so there, and inside the administration, there are definitely two camps, maybe more than two. But the point is that there are those whose supporters are more on the what we call the woke right. I won't go as far as to say the Tucker Carlson right, because that I've now concluded is the loony right.
Well, I'm not just so loony. The guy, the way I see it, is the guy is trying to revive Middle Ages Christian anti-Semitism.
Oh, definitely.
That's what he's trying to do.
Right, but there's no place for that in the United States of America. And that's why I say the loony right. There are right-wingers who may be more isolationist and who don't believe in interventionism, and they say that the Iraq War, the neocons got us into the Iraq War. It's a thing. But Rubio, and that's why, by the way, just here's the neoconservatives, the woke right hates, really supported Rubio in his first run for president and before that. So there is this tension inside the administration, and that's one thing. But the other is the irony, tragic irony, has to do with Qatar. You're talking after Durban. It's not just Durban, but when ironically, the Soviet Union fell.
Yeah.
But it was from its playbook that the Palestinians, that the Arabs of pre-state Israel and then post-state Israel took their propaganda and spread it. The idea behind that propaganda isn't only against Jews and Israel now, it was against the West.
The West.
And you infiltrate the United States, right? And you destroy it from within. Qatar has taken on that role. Qatar funds all the lies and indoctrination at universities across the United States, Europe,
the media
with Al Jazeera. But Al Jazeera isn't openly, people can see that. But it does more underhanded things.
Absolutely.
And it funds all kinds of organizations, and you can't keep track of where they are and who they are. And we know probably in Israel as well. And Qatar became a mediator in this war.
Yeah.
Qatar houses Hamas, funds Hamas, is on Hamas's side. And so then you have Qatar not only acting as mediator in the hostage crisis and the war, but trying to play a big role in post-war Gaza. This is worrisome.
I agree. And getting the protection, the NATO-like protection of the United States, to protect them against regional actors, which to me is antithetical to trying to bring in Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia and Qatar, of course, don't get along. They're on opposite sides. Qatar is very concerning. And, Bellamy, you lived in the, I would say, creative community of New York for many years as a dancer. You saw this creeping in your own spaces, right?
Yes, I saw it creeping in my own space. And the most terrifying thing about that was but I thought art was supposed to be non-political. So if you look at it like the old days where it was like an artist is there to make you think. Okay, so it's one thing to make you think. We'll push an idea, but you don't become part of that idea. You start a conversation.
Yeah.
No, it's gone beyond starting a conversation because they will now dictate to you who you are. And as an artist, you're supposed to be a lefty. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to believe in that. I was never that person. So I had a lovely time.
I can imagine.
I had a lovely time.
But also what they don't understand is that this is all very deliberately sponsored by an Islamist country that is against every one of these liberal values they think they stand for.
Every single thing on a daily basis. You're waking up and you're living a lie because you're being made to believe something that is not real. So that's one thing. So when someone says to me, Israel's not real or Israel, and I'm like, okay. Hold it, buddy.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't even put 2 feet together to know what the story of Samson and Delilah or something else was, when your job was just to stand on quarter and put your foot here and wave. If you can't do the basic minimum, I don't understand what you are trying to do having a conversation on an intellectual level.
They all think they're all experts now. Comedians are geopolitical experts now.
Every single person is an expert because everybody's been bolstered in these ways, because these sleeper cells have all of a sudden been activated, and especially after October 7th, yes, Jews became activated more because they went, whoa, I might have just been a Jew or maybe just somebody that might light candles every now and again. You've seen this rise in pride that's happened within the Jewish community.
Yeah.
And then you've got the as a Jews that are in the creative spaces and that have platforms that they use against their own people. Not understanding that they are still part of the same group that they will come for when the time comes.
The Jews from Andani, the chickens for KFC. David, you've seen that. You've seen a complete uptake of, warriors in your space against and for. How do you see this now? How do you see us moving forward? Let's say we're in post-war. What does Israel have to do now to really take the fight for the delegitimization of Israel seriously, to fight back?
Well, if you're speaking about online predominantly?
Yes. But not just, because, Bellamy's talking about creative spaces.
Yes.
They've taken over everywhere.
Yes. So again, I don't think the fight is Israel's fight. I think it is Jews' fight. But more than that, it's actually the West's fight, going back to what Ruti was saying, which is 100% correct.
Yeah.
So what I believe we need to do more of to effectively fight what is going on is to bring it into the context of a fight for the West.
So zoom out.
We have to zoom out
Yeah.
for sure. And it's very easy. Now, I'm
Yeah.
very much, one of the things I love to do, I don't like blocking accounts that are disseminating anti-Semitism at all.
Yeah.
I actually love those accounts in
You
a way.
engage with them.
I engage with them for a certain period of time,
Yeah.
but with the purpose to basically shine a light on them, because they are their own worst enemies. And I want people who are watching to understand this.
Yes.
That they are giving us a gift. They are really, really horrible people. I was going to say another word, but I don't think we should swear.
Well, we've got scumbag coming up.
Okay.
Scummy.
The S word is scummy.
That word is
Part of the DNA of those. I don't have to censor this. So I do believe, like for instance, we see all these sorts of not parades, protests.
Yes.
Okay, riots, protests, and they are, for instance, burning the American flag in Australia, my home country. They are burning the Australian flag.
Yeah.
Shine a light on that,
Yeah.
because what I'm seeing is that there's a silent majority of people who are being activated along with us.
Yes.
They are not the loudmouths on social media
Yeah.
or the bots on social media.
Quiet majority.
And all of a sudden, okay, maybe when they came for the Jews, they didn't get activated. But when they see that they're starting to come for them, they're starting to come for their Christmas by candlelight,
Yeah.
carols by candlelight. They're coming for their
Fair.
cultural
Christmas market.
symbols. They're coming for their jobs. For instance, truck drivers being stuck in New York on the way to their job, and there are people lying across, blocking the traffic. They're starting to get majorly peeved.
Yes.
The P word.
So you think that look, I also believe it, but I think sometimes am I just fooling myself to think that people are waking up? We had Tommy Robinson here last week. Emily and I interviewed him, and that's what he's saying. I'm waking people up. Is it going to be enough, and is it going to be enough on time? That's the question.
Well, I have one caveat to what you said, David, and that is that the people, if you take the United States, for example, the people, what you would call average Americans, you don't hear from, they're not bots, they're not active on
They're not interested.
are patriots, and they already know this, and they have woken up, and that is why Donald Trump is president of the United States.
Yeah.
The woke people, it doesn't work on them, and I'll tell you why. When you say, yeah, but look, they're doing, they're desecrating your flag and they don't want Christmas trees. The woke people say that's good. America's bad.
Yes.
America's a bad country. The flag doesn't represent me, and neither does Christmas and all that. For a long time they were abolishing, and they would say Happy Holidays, not Merry Christmas. So if you're asking me, there's the woke, and there are people who are they're already awake. So the question is, how are you going to fight? Who's going to win? But we know that politically, at least, that culturally, we've lost the culture.
Yes.
But the ballot box is a different story, and that happened in Israel too. Israeli culture is far left, and Netanyahu keeps winning elections. In America, Trump, it's true that he didn't win the second time after, but there was a question about stolen ballots, etc. But he then won again because most of middle America and most sane people do not like this radicalism.
Yes.
So we see that. We see what's happening in Argentina.
Yes.
We see what's happening in Britain. But the culture, we're not going to get the culture. I don't think you're ever going to be able to go on a runway again as a model with any other model who's conservative or pro-America, pro-Israel. It's not happening. But that doesn't mean that the majority isn't. So that's the question. How do we win over universities and other, because that shouldn't be uniculture the way artists and writers. I don't know.
Maybe when America starts waking up about foreign funding influencing their academia, and I guess the test ground of what you're saying is what's going to happen next week in the mayoral elections of New York, which is probably a test of what you're exactly talking about, even though New York may not be representative of the whole of America. So we'll hold our breath and see what happens. But Scumbag of the Week is a very important part of this show. So let's get on with it. Bellamy, who's your scumbag this week, dear?
My scumbag is Tom York from Radiohead. For him to say that he will not come anywhere within 5,000 miles of Netanyahu's government. Just like I said earlier, if art is not supposed to be political, why make a political stand? That is specifically political. It's one thing to disagree with the government. That's something that we constantly keep saying. But what does that have to do with the Israeli people?
But I'll tell you why that's really sad for me to hear, and I read it. Tom York was actually pretty pro-Israel. Why? And I read the story. It's amazing. Maybe you know the story because you're as old as me. Essentially, when Radiohead were nobodies, one DJ in Israel couldn't stop playing their music. And he couldn't stop playing their music to the point that other people started catching on to this. They became popular in Israel before they became popular anywhere, and then it trickled down. And he, at the beginning of this war, actually was on stage in Australia, and people started shouting things against Israel, and he left the stage and said, if you don't want to hear me, why? Because he was pro-Israel. So he's been now pushed and harassed to a corner. And of course, he doesn't want to say Israel or Jews, so he says Netanyahu, which is, by the way, what that other moron, Natalie Portman, kept saying. I was born in Jerusalem, but I won't go to Israel because of Netanyahu. There's always a big bad wolf in the Jewish world, right? You're being played as well. It's a shame that he has to be a scumbag because he didn't start off a scumbag.
It is, and especially because he's been somebody that was steadfast on holding on to the fact of and knowing the history that Radiohead has with Israel and what the Israeli people did for their career.
Yes.
That is the most painful
It's such a
We're losing everyone.
And also, don't say anything at all.
Yes, don't.
Keep your mouth shut. You are not politicians. You are not public political figures. You can just stay home and do whatever you do. Okay?
It's radical.
It's a shame. It's a scumbag for me, which is painful, but well done for picking that up. Ruthie.
Okay, my scumbag of the week, but I could use him as my scumbag of the year or the decade.
The decade, yeah.
Is President Erdogan of Turkey. And he is trying desperately to have a role in post-war Gaza because he wants to take over Gaza. He wants to invade Israel. He wants to take over the Middle East and Syria as he's the Neo-Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
Now, it wouldn't normally bother us. The trouble is two things. One is NATO. Two is President Trump treating him as though he's a great guy. I mean, Trump, let's face it, Trump says that about a lot of people.
Yes, he said that about Putin.
Yeah, he says that he's a great guy and all this. So it doesn't, so it doesn't mean anything. But what does mean something is that Turkey is prominent in all these discussions.
Yes.
Okay, now, he is an open anti-Semite. He has said that Israel is a terrorist state. He has supported Hamas. He has housed Hamas. He was responsible for the flotilla in 2010, the Mavi Marmara.
Yes.
He is an evil guy, and he should be nowhere near anything that involves disarming Hamas or creating a new Middle East. And lately, I just want to say, in Turkey, by the way, there was an effigy of Netanyahu hanging from a crane by his neck. That's what Turkey has become, and it's a shame. Turkey pre-Erdogan,
yes,
we were really good friends with Turkey, and Israelis flooded Turkey and vacations, and Erdogan is my scumbag. That's it.
I agree with you. He's a perpetual scumbag, and the guy also, which is very scary, has gotten himself very influential in Syria. And that is very problematic. So absolutely, I completely concur with your scumbag. David, your first scumbag of the week, even though you've been pointing them out for years.
Yes. So, I'm not, as you know, I'm not averse to naming scumbags of the week, of the day, of the minute.
Yes.
But this one actually, Fleur, really, really hurts.
Okay.
My scumbag of the week is one of the comedy legends of all time, Mr. John Cleese.
Oh, I know.
Yes. And it pains me even to say that.
And he's been here a lot.
Yes, he's been here. Now, I couldn't believe it, but I've seen him on X, and he's all of a sudden gone not just anti-Israel, but actually anti-Semitic. He's crossed that line. What do I mean? Well, the first thing I saw was he retweeted Roger Waters. Enough said, right?
Enough,
I mean, if you retweet Roger Waters, you've got a few brain cells missing.
You're drunk anti-Semitic.
Yes. But he's gone beyond that. So I saw he's retweeted an anti-Zionist group that said along the lines of, Zionists cannot be Jews. We're worse than Haman and the Nazis. So, the old IHAR working definition of anti-Semitism contravention. He's called Israel an evil country, or he's amplified a tweet rather, calling Israel an evil country. It's unbelievable, and I just couldn't believe it. And I had to double check that this is an official account. It's an official John Cleese account. I ran it through ChatGPT as well, just to be sure. Has 5.2 million followers. So, and as you rightfully said, you know, he's been to Israel. He was here in 2019.
Yes.
He was in a commercial in 2012, I believe, for chocolate spread.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is irony. I always misuse the word irony, but maybe ironically, he played like a US general who was the Israelis in the commercial were asking for permission to strike Iran.
Oh my God.
Wow.
What a shame.
And, you know, he looks like a hypocrite as well. He's pro-Ukraine, very anti-Russian, but
Yeah.
he's also very anti-Trump. So maybe some of it comes from old age. Maybe some of it comes from Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
But it is extremely, extremely disappointing. And very, very odd. Oh, another thing is when he was here in 2019, he told the crowd how he has 2 Jewish grandchildren because one of his kids married a Jew.
Wow.
So all signs point towards him being pro-Israel. He once laughed at an anti-Hamas joke as well. But here's the punchline to this very bad joke. He has some shows, no joke, I checked. There's still shows here in Israel in late November, early December. They were postponed from June, and they're still up. He's still apparently performing in this evil country.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Check it out.
The funny, I mean, I've seen this and it's very disheartening. I was a huge fan, you know, Monty Python and everything.
Same age and everything.
But same age. But the funniest is our friend Talhar too. He put a thing, I remember when Israel was a normal country, and she retweeted and said, and I remember when you used to be funny.
Sort of, yes.
So good one, Tal. Yeah, painfully so. Let's see if he comes. Let's see if he shows up.
Would you go?
You know, it's very interesting because my husband and I had tickets for 2019 and we forgot about it. And we were so bummed.
Maybe that's why he became anti-Semitic.
It could be that I wasn't there in the audience to give him my vibes. Yeah, it's a painful one. I think we've had some painful ex-friends who are scumbags this week. My scumbag is a little bit more political. Spain, unfortunately, has been a den of anti-Semitism in the last few years. And unfortunately, the American Jewish Committee is acting this week as a tool to legitimize a government that spreads anti-Semitism. On October the 24th, Jewish leaders from Latin America gathered in Madrid for a forum organized by the AJC and the Spanish Federation of Jewish Communities. None of my Spanish friends are part of these federations. The venue, Casa America, part of the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. According to some sources, this event could have been meaningful only if it had denounced the growing anti-Semitism in Spain. Instead, it issued a generic declaration that ignored the country's alarming reality. Spain today is, by testimony and observation, one of the most hostile environments in Europe for Jews. Hatred, incitement, and violence multiplied and normalized by the political leadership, Pedro Sánchez. The Sánchez government has accused Israel of genocide, promoted boycotts of Israeli products and academic institutions, obstructed exports to Israel, threatened Israel's participation in events like the Vuelta, the cycling thing, and Eurovision. And now they're just talking about freezing bank accounts of Israelis. Their ministers have justified Hamas atrocities, and they've speculated about acquiring nuclear weapons to defend Palestinians from Israeli aggression. And yet, the AJC sat alongside this government, legitimizing its image and ignored its active role in fueling anti-Semitism. The so-called National Plan Against Anti-Semitism that they rolled out isn't a Spanish initiative. It's a cosmetic EU requirement. The IRA definition is applied selectively, while Spain's leaders repeatedly violated, and AJC and the Federation of Spanish Communities essentially whitewashed all of this. And so for all of those reasons, they wanted to do a photo op, but the photo op whitewashed and threw the community of Jews that are suffering in Spain under the bus. You are all my scumbags this week. Oof.
Wow.
Excellent.
I've done a lot of Spain, I've got to tell you. But to have Jewish communities, Jewish organizations actually going along with this, it's extremely sad. All right, we always like to finish with good vibes. And we always have heroes for so many scumbags. David, let's start with you. Who's your hero this week?
This is way more fun than the scumbag.
Of course.
So my hero for this week is an actor by the name of Jerry O'Connell. And he sometimes flies under the radar. He was the chubby kid in Stand By Me, one of the greatest Greatest movies of all
Great
time.
movie.
And he got thin.
Oh, you're preempting everything I'm going to say next. I was going to say he got jacked, more jacked than me even. But that's not why he's the hero of the week, although it's very inspirational. He is the hero of the week because he has been consistent in his support for the Jewish people and the Jewish state. And without all the bells and whistles, you have certain celebrities that sort of make more noise and everyone is sort of inviting them to the galas and all this sort of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I like those people as well. I appreciate help from all quarters. But Jerry O'Connell, just going about his business, every single petition that comes out, he signs it. Whether it's, against the boycott, the Hollywood boycott of, Jewish Israeli films, whether it's, against anti-Semitism. Jerry O'Connell, he's always on those petitions.
Yeah.
If you look at his Instagram, he is constantly posted for the release of the hostages.
Wow.
Just again, very quietly. But he goes beyond that because, for instance, he's posted selfies, like, for instance, with some young religious Jewish guys, Shabbat Shalom, like as a friend.
Yeah.
One of his recent posts, he said the best falafel in California or LA, I believe, Hollywood falafel. And, you see a guy with a kippah who's obviously the owner. And, it's not just a feel-good picture. You see what's going on here. Yeah. You see that it's real support because a lot of businesses are being boycotted.
Yeah.
And so Jerry O'Connell has taken on himself to use, he's got like over 500, maybe 600,000 followers on Instagram, and he's using his influence for good. And I mentioned him this week, one, because he flies under the radar and I want to make sure that he gets his due desserts. But in addition, the Creative Community for Peace awarded him one of the ambassadors for peace.
Oh.
I believe it happened last week.
Yes.
So he has been acknowledged, but I want to use my the Quad's incredibly large audience to further, push the idea that Jerry O'Connell, you're a star. And if you ever do come to Israel, I would like to take you to the best falafel in Israel.
Okay, we're all coming with you.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. He, like you say, under the radar, just being a friend. That's all we wanted. That's all we've ever needed.
Yeah,
Be a
he
friend.
stands by
And
us.
he doesn't get very political about it. He's just being a friend.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy like that. Thank you very much. Just a great hero. Ruthie, who's your hero this week?
Okay, my hero is Eitan Mor. He is a recently released hostage who was in the tunnels, the dungeons of Hamas for the past 2 years. Now, his father was once my hero on your show.
That's right.
His father founded something called the forum,
Tikva.
the Tikva Forum, and it is separate from the hostage families forum. These two, there was a split in the hostages families between those that believed that the protests and screaming, we have to stop the war and we hate Netanyahu would help the hostages come home, and the other group that said, no, that's encouraging Hamas. Eitan Mor was released, and his father spent the war criticizing the street protests and saying that is prolonging our kids in Gaza, their abduction, their captivity in Gaza. And the other families vilified him and said, you don't even love your son. You don't care if he gets out. I spent 2 years vilifying him. Anyway, Eitan finally comes home, and it's really lovely, and his father weeps in his arms. Yeah, really, he didn't care that he came home. And Eitan just gave an interview in which he said that his captor told him, if there's a deal, you're going home first because your parents are never at those protests.
Yeah,
and so they're not valuable to us. And Eitan, the whole 2 years, he didn't see his father in the streets, and he knew, he said, but he didn't feel that they didn't love him and didn't care about him. He knew, and he persevered, and his faith in his parents and in God, and so he's my hero this week.
Wow, it's a shame that the whole thing got politicized, and it's a shame that the Hostage Family Forum decided that, as well as getting their children released, and you can't judge anybody for going to the streets and screaming, but that bringing down the government was also part of that deal, and that was the mistake. That was a strategic mistake. But Eitan Mor, I met him, and and this man was steadfast the whole time. Yeah.
Tzvika is the father. Eitan is the son. They're wonderful, and his mother is also lovely. They're just a great family.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful hero. Bellamy, who's your hero?
Eli Sharabi.
Oh,
What a man. What a man. So I met him yesterday very briefly backstage at Tel Aviv Fashion Week Gala.
He was also walking down the...
Walking down the runway. They
I
had
love that.
full hostages that were released, but the whole energy changed in the whole convention center. Every time somebody saw him, someone would say thank you, to get a hug from him. And he's so open.
Yeah.
But I kept reminding myself of what I had heard during the week, because it kept playing on in my mind. There was a little clip of him on social media from an interview that he did, and he said, after being held for 491 days, I don't have the privilege to stay in bed and cry.
Yeah. He lost his daughters and wife. He chose life.
He chose life. And if you want to talk about resilience, that man, I mean, everybody was up on their feet just cheering him on and shaking his hand. The leadership role that he has taken on for himself right now, not just to speak out for Israel or the Jewish people or to tell his story, but just how inspirational he is.
Yeah.
With no words, nothing. The kind of man that can just walk into a room and you go, wow, you made it, we will make it.
Yeah.
That is something that's powerful. So that's my hero.
And his book Hostage
Yes.
is a huge bestseller.
Yes, I'm so happy. It's really wonderful. My sister's reading it. I want to read it. She says she can't put it down. And his captivity story is also inspirational of the way he basically mentored these younger captives. I'm so happy you got to walk down the catwalk with him.
It was quite something, you know. I was like in my own little world. Everybody's running around with their teams and everything else, and I'm just like, okay, there's a lot.
Well, first of all, good for the Tel Aviv Fashion Week for inviting you. And for inviting him. I think that was when I saw him walk down the catwalk, I thought, this is a man who's chosen life.
It's just warmed.
Thank you, beautiful hero. So my hero may be a little controversial this week. I know her. I would consider her a friend. She's certainly a friend of Israel. And that is Michelle Bachmann, who's a pastor herself. She's a woman of God. And she actually, many years ago, ran for the presidential primaries of the Republican Party, for those of you who remember. She's really a wonderful woman. She spent years going around different countries around the world, Africa, to advocate for Israel, for the relationship with Israel. And she was in a panel this week and said some pretty harsh truths about the ceasefire and this deal. Just watch.
I was very concerned because of the historical nature of the relationships that both Mr. Witkoff and Jared Kushner had with Saudi Arabia and with Qatar. Because Qatar is the #1 funder of terrorism in the world. The #1 nation state of terrorism in the world is Iran. So just about as Israel is reaching the goalpost, in comes our envoys, Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and say, wait, stop it. You can't win. Sorry, we're not going to let you win. And so now we're going to have a ceasefire. And now we're going to negotiate. And in the negotiation, Israel, you're not getting control over the land. You're not getting it. And by the way, if the Arabs do everything right, there's a hint they might get their own state out of this deal. Judea, Samaria, and maybe Gaza for their own country. I mean, this is like shocking stuff.
Now, whether you agree or disagree with Michelle Bachmann, and I agree with some of what she's saying, she's basically saying, you know, Israel, why isn't Israel allowed to win? Why are people getting in the way of Israel winning? And she also said another harsh truth, which is, you know, you have a Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Why do you have to bring these extra special envoys? Now, like I said, I'm not sure I agree completely with her analysis, but the fact that within her own party and within her own camp, she is brave enough to get up there and basically talk about how something doesn't smell right to her and to confront what is going to be a barrage of criticism for saying what she said. To me, that just shows that she's a very brave woman that stands with her principles, that doesn't get confused, doesn't get fogged, and always, always, always puts Israel and the relationship of the U.S. and Israel first. And so, Michelle, we love you. You've been to Jerusalem many times. We did a very nice project together. Come back. And thank you very much for standing for truth. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, another week passes, and we pray, as we do, and we do every week, and we've done from the beginning of the show, that all our hostages come home, including the ones that deserve a dignified funeral, by next week. Maybe this week will be the week. Thank you so much for watching.
In what could reshape post-war Gaza and the future of Palestinian leadership, Hamas and the Palestinian Authority have reportedly agreed on a new figure to lead Gaza's next governing body, while Mahmoud Abbas quietly moves to cement his own successor in Ramallah. More from ILTV's Mayan Hoffman.
Hamas and the Palestinian Authority have chosen Amjad Shawa, a civil society leader from Gaza, to head a new technocratic board that will govern the Strip once the war ends. The agreement was reached during talks in Cairo between Hamas, the PA, and Egyptian intelligence. But the final word still rests with the United States, which must sign off on the plan, according to Khan News. Palestinian sources told Khan that Shawa is pro-Hamas without being a Hamas man. While Hamas chose half the board members and the PA chose the rest, Egypt ultimately presented the completed list to Hamas in what observers described as an attempt to appease the organization. Shawa currently leads the Palestinian NGO network, and in past interviews he has highlighted Gaza's humanitarian collapse and blamed Israel for a famine in the Strip, as well as destruction of hospitals, although Israel has proven that those hospitals were being used to harbor terrorists and carry out attacks. Critics say his appointment shows that Hamas still intends to control the Strip. In an interview with Reuters, senior Hamas official Mohammed Nazal confirmed the group's plans to maintain security control in Gaza, and he said they cannot commit to disarming. He said Hamas is open to a 5-year ceasefire, but only if Palestinians are given, quote, horizons and hope for statehood. Israeli analyst Dr. Kobi Michael told Reuters that Hamas has not changed its DNA. They do not intend to disarm or leave the Strip, and they want to be part of the day after. While Gaza's leadership structure takes shape, another major development is unfolding in the PA-controlled areas of Judea and Samaria. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has officially designated his deputy, Hussein al-Sheikh, as interim successor in case of his death or incapacitation, a constitutional amendment first reported by Israeli media. Under the new clause, al-Sheikh would serve as acting president for up to 3 months until elections are held. A longtime Fatah insider, known for close coordination with Israel, al-Sheikh's rise is viewed as a bid to reassure international partners and prevent chaos when the 89-year-old Abbas eventually leaves office. Taken together, the Shawa appointment in Gaza and al-Sheikh's succession plan in Ramallah signal an emerging post-war Palestinian order that keeps Hamas influential in the Strip, while the PA seeks continuity in the territories. The question now, will the dual power structure bring stability or deepen division?
And this next story is really unbelievable. Imagine going on vacation to a 5-star luxury resort only to share a swim in the pool with a murderer, or stand in line at the buffet with a man who orchestrated the bombings of innocent civilians. Well, that is the experience of some tourists, according to a new report in the British Daily Mail, which claims that 154 terrorists deported under the Gaza ceasefire are staying at a 5-star hotel in Cairo. According to the report, the former prisoners released by Israel in exchange for hostages after the onset of the war on October 7, 2023, were sent to Egypt and appear to be living in luxury at the Renaissance Cairo Mirage Hotel, a Marriott-managed property near Cairo. Among them are convicted former members of Hamas, Fatah, and other terror groups convicted of murdering Israeli civilians or security forces. The identified prisoners were seen withdrawing cash from ATMs at the hotel, celebrating, posing for photos with supporters, and some are reportedly applying for permanent residency with the aim of moving to Qatar, Turkey, or Tunisia. Israeli security experts warn that the unrestricted relocation and networking of these individuals poses a potential global terror threat, since they can reconnect with their organizations and rebuild terror infrastructure abroad. But I also want to ask, Egypt is supposed to be a central partner in U.S. President Trump's Great Peace Plan. So why is it hosting these mass murderers and terrorists? Why at a 5-star hotel in the lap of luxury, especially at a time when we know how Hamas hosted Israeli hostages in dungeons underground? It seems the Marriott chain and the Egyptians have some explaining to do.
The academic year is already in full swing, and Reichman University is welcoming a new class of international students from around the world. ILTV was at the orientation day at the Reichman campus to see it all unfold. Have a look.
Nearly 800 students from around the world began orientation week at Reichman University's Rafael Recanati International School. Students started the day by meeting their personal counselors in green shirts and their fellow classmates for the year ahead. The students then toured the campus before kicking off the orientation ceremony, where the students were greeted by head of the Rafael Recanati International School, Jonathan Davis, as well as Professor Boaz Ganor, president of Reichman University. Both shared inspiring words.
What we have going on here is 800 brand new students coming to Reichman University. They are part of the 2,400 students studying here from 90 different countries for full academic degrees, either BA or MA. And they stood up to be counted. And in spite of everything else that's going on in the world or in Israel, they stood up, came here, and they're about to begin their journey here in Israel.
After the opening ceremony, a massive corner filled with extracurricular clubs, activities, and opportunities was open to all of the fresh students. From creative workshops to sports, clubs, and so much more, the opportunities to expand beyond just learning was palpable. The Students' Fair was underway, but ILTV set out to settle a burning question. What compels a student to register for classes in a country that had not yet entered a ceasefire in the war?
For me, it was more about safety, like with all the fears that brought coming to Israel. Learning in the U.S. did not bring a sense of safety to me, so I was more compelled to come to a place where I feel a sense of community and safety all around me.
It's a great opportunity to study in English and finish your degree in Israel especially. And the best part about here, I think, is the culture. Because like such a different people are coming here from US, from Mexico. I met from Argentina also, and I'm from South Korea. I met from Hong Kong, and there's like a bunch of people, different cultures, and everyone's like integrating and becoming one and united.
I moved here 5 years ago to join the army originally. I came here as a lone soldier, and I finished the war as well. I finished Miluim, and I figured it was time to start life and start studying.
Like Gabriel, Noam Harouche served in the IDF. But Noam was severely injured in November of 2023 when his tank came under attack. His injuries led to the amputation of his leg. But today, with his prosthetic, Noam joins the international school at Reichman University to pursue his passions.
I want to make a difference. I want to do something big. I think I have the shlichut, as they say, to do something big. I think it's the right place. I am going into Mshal, so I'm hoping that I can find myself here and do whatever I can just to make the biggest difference that I can make here.
These students are coming from around the world and from different backgrounds, but they all have one thing in common.
Go with the flow. It's not too bad. It's as bad as people say, but it's really, really not. You meet friends for life, people for life, skills for life, and it definitely shapes and builds you into a better person.
I understand it can feel a little bit scary and intimidating, but everybody in Israel has a warm heart, and there's a beautiful community here.
Come here, enjoy the Israeli culture, the Jewish culture. It's something that you wouldn't have any way to experience in anywhere else.
Welcome back to ILTV on the Hour. We are live from Israel, bringing you the biggest headlines of the last hour. I'm Caleb Ben David, and here is your roundup of the latest updates coming out of the region. The IDF has announced it is resuming enforcement of the Gaza ceasefire agreement after carrying out a wave of airstrikes on Hamas targets, this following the deadly shooting of a soldier yesterday in Rafah. The order to strike came directly from Prime Minister Netanyahu, who told the IDF to carry out powerful attacks due to a string of violations of the current ceasefire by Hamas. Palestinian sources say dozens were reportedly killed in the airstrikes on targets in the Sabra neighborhood south of Gaza City. The IDF says it returned fire in order to stop Hamas from further endangering soldiers on the Israeli side of the Yellow Line, demarcating the positions in Gaza still held by IDF troops. Defense Minister Israel Katz said that Hamas terrorists will, quote, pay a heavy price for attacking IDF soldiers and for violating the agreement to return all the hostage remains still in Gaza. Israeli security officials said the government is considering 5 options in case Hamas fails to deliver on returning the hostage remains. This includes extending its operational control of Gaza, escalation of targeted operations against Hamas, carrying out its own hostage remains retrieval operations, diplomatic pressure, and ending existing agreements under the ceasefire. Now, all of this follows the killing of an IDF reservist in an attack carried out by Palestinian terror operatives against troops stationed in the Rafah area of the southern Gaza Strip yesterday afternoon. The slain soldier was Reserves Master Sergeant Yonah Effie Feldbaum, 37, a heavy machinery operator from the community of Neriah. He leaves behind a wife and 5 children. May his memory be a blessing. According to an initial IDF probe, the terror operatives launched RPGs and carried out sniper fire against Israeli forces operating in Rafah's Janina neighborhood. Now, this area is located on the eastern side of the Yellow Line, an area under Israeli control as part of the ceasefire. Now, despite the area being under Israeli control, the IDF has assessed that there are terror operatives holed up in a pocket in the area. As troops worked to clear out the neighborhood of Hamas military infrastructure, operatives emerged from a tunnel and carried out the attack. Last week, 2 soldiers were killed in a similar attack in the same neighborhood. Israel's blamed Hamas for both attacks, but the terror group denies connection to either incident. Meanwhile, President Trump defended Israel's right to respond to attacks on IDF troops while insisting the ceasefire there will hold.
Well, as I understand it, they took out an Israeli soldier. I just heard about it a little while ago. They killed an Israeli soldier, so the Israelis hit back, and they should hit back. When that happens, they should hit back. You have to understand, Hamas is a very small part of peace in the Middle East, and they have to behave. They're on the rough side, but they said they would be good, and if they're good, they're going to be happy, and if they're not good, they're going to be terminated. Their lives will be terminated, and they understand that.
Now, according to the office of Prime Minister Netanyahu, Jerusalem did notify the Trump administration of its decision to carry out strikes in Gaza City in response to Hamas violations of the ceasefire after Prime Minister Netanyahu had already ordered the move. U.S. and Israeli officials, though, have told local media that Washington was informed by the PMO after the decision was made, but before the strikes took place. The U.S.-led Civil Military Coordination Center in Kiryat Gat, which oversees the ceasefire and monitors progress on the Gaza peace plan, facilitated communications between the two sides. An Israeli official confirmed that there were talks with the Americans regarding Israel's planned response before the strikes were carried out. That ends this bulletin on ILTV. Stay tuned for us with the latest updates. Also, you can check out our app. Just click on that QR code download that QR code there on your screen. I'm Caleb Ben David, and thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more on ILTV.
Hey guys, Owen Malul here. Today we're going to discuss the main differences between traditional martial arts and competitive fighting sports to Krav Maga. We're going to compare between them and see how effective they are to real-life scenarios when you need to defend yourself. Okay guys, another classic Krav Maga move now against a gun threat. Okay, so we're gonna show the move that simply looks like that. Boom, boom. Okay, let's see what happened here. Now, really important to mention, in Krav Maga, when there is a gun threat, of course, we assume that you have to react only if you don't have another choice. Then, of course, if you can give your money, give your money, run away, run away. We're talking about a scenario that you feel in an immediate life danger. So any gun threat, that means that he could already shot you, but basically the guy wants something out of you. He wants your money. He wants maybe to kidnap you, and then maybe you might think twice if to react or not. Now, the move looked like this. First, a redirection with my left hand, if he's holding with his right. Redirect, bring the barrel towards the ground, and redirect with the gun towards his own body. So one more time. Whoop. Okay, second thing, I'm advancing and giving a punch. Not before. Also understanding that there is a body defend right after the hand. That means the body defend comes right after the hand while I'm redirecting. Now I'm pushing the gun towards his body, and from here, punching, punching, putting my own leg behind his leg. Then, when the barrel is always pointing the ground, I'm gonna go with my own hand under, grab the back of the gun, and from here, do what we call the disarm, use my own body weight, pull from the right, and create leverage. Here I'm disarming him while pulling, taking a step back distance, magazine strike, loading the gun and taking control of the situation. Now, here is a classic Krav Maga move I learned myself growing up as a kid, as an adult, and as we explained before, while doing this move as a student and teaching it to my own clients, what I realized is when you're grabbing a gun with one hand, even though you're going to go and redirect it and push it towards his own body, even though you're going to come with your own body and attack strong towards the face with a strong punch, we always assume that the attacker is bigger and stronger. And when someone is under adrenaline, especially if he's bigger and stronger, and you hold him his own gun, even if you punch him, his own reaction will be always what to do? Pull the knife. One more time. 1, 2. What Leo simply did is pulling the knife while I do the move, which can create a big problem if we have to do it in reality under pressure. Other than that, doing a gun defend with one hand, if you think to yourself, am I gonna grab a gun which is risking my life with one hand, or maybe I'm gonna have to try to use it with my both hands, which you feel much more confident. So when I, again, opened my own head and tried different techniques and realized doing it with two hands feel better. First, I feel more, I have more chance of grabbing it and not maybe missing the gun. And if I'm maybe not able to grab, but the second hand, I'm able at least maybe to fix the grip itself. Second of all, if here he is going to pull me, he can pull me till tomorrow, but I'm attached to the back of the gun. That means my whole body here is attached, and it does not matter if he holds it with one or two hands. The moment I'm attached to the gun, he's gonna be pulling me, and I can go with my own attacks. Boom, as knees, kicks, etc. And he's not simply going to be able to pull it like in one hand, up, pull it, and I'm staying, first of all, without the gun, and it creates a problem. So one more thing. The way we teach it in our school, instead of doing it with one hand, we're not counting on the speed, we're not counting on the grip. We understand that under pressure and things in reality looks different in the training, and we are saying, guys, you can lift your hands, you can do whatever it takes, and if you do need to protect yourself, go with two hands. It's basically the first move is exactly the same move, but you have a second hand that goes and grab. You feel much stronger when holding a gun with 2 hands. And if he pulls the gun here, boom, I'm attached to this gun. Of course, always paying attention that the barrel is pointing the ground, the knees, and from here, the defense actually looks exactly the same. I'm here disarming the gun, always paying attention the barrel is facing the ground or my attacker. And here the moves goes exactly the same. But what's important is the small move is simply adding another hand. Now a lot of people are resisting to add another hand because they're claiming they want to go with a punch. Now I'm going to ask you guys a question. What is more important? To redirect and strike simultaneously, that means as quick as possible, or most important is actually to control the gun first. So we're going to answer, of course, it doesn't matter how hard I hit him. If he has the gun, that's right, okay, he has a broken nose, boom. But he pulls the gun. Under the adrenaline, might not even feel the broken nose. He has the gun, it does not matter how hard was my punch. But if I first concentrate on neutralizing and controlling the gun, that's going to be my first priority. Right after, attack with myself, or if he pulls, I'm gonna go with him and then attack. At least I'm in control with the gun, and then I'm able to disarm and take control of the situation. Okay guys, let's go over those 4 techniques and review them. Our first technique was a comparison between a Krav Maga to an Aikido move called Nikyu. We showed you the defense that comes from Aikido against a simple swing, the most common attack in a street fight. When Leo was showing us how to use the energy of the attacker against the attacker himself. We explained that in reality, it's not always possible to use the energy of the attacker against him because you're surprised out of nowhere the punch is coming and you're simply reacting with your animalistic instincts, sometimes even moving backwards and not necessarily able to use the energy of the enemy against him. The concept is beautiful, but not always applicable to reality. Our second move came again from the Aikido world, comparing to the Krav Maga world, a defense against a punch that goes to the upper body. Leo showed us a move when he redirects, put the arm of the attacker under his own armpit and then creates a lock, putting leverage on the elbow, neutralizing the attacker all the way to the ground. We explained that in Krav Maga first, you're not always able to use timing and using the energy of the attacker against it. Again, when you're surprised out of nowhere, that's going to be something really hard to do. Second, we show when grabbing the hand of the attacker himself, he simply wants to pull the hand, which another problematic concept that in reality might create a problem. Our third and fourth move come from Krav Maga itself. We showed you 2 different moves. The first one was against a stab that goes towards the stomach with an inside defense, grab the hand, attack, then create an arm bar, unlock to neutralize the attacker. We explained that first of all, doing an inside defense against a straight stab with a knife towards the central body might work, but if the attacker suddenly goes lower than your elbow, you might get into trouble. We showed you how we teach it in our own school, going with an outside defense. If you can put your hands up, going down, using your own body motion as well, body defense, creating a big outside defense, later on wrapping your own hand in order to neutralize the attacker. But we showed you how one move can defend against all the stab, does not matter what level, if it's your chest, head, stomach, central body, and lower than that, will definitely work. Then we moved on to another classic Krav Maga defense with a gun that is being done with one hand. I explained that personally in my school, I do not teach a defense against a gun in one hand. If you have to do it in reality, first, I do not personally believe you're going to be able to do a defense against a gun with one hand only when you have 2 hands. Your natural instincts, if you are going to react in order to save your life, you're going to want to use your both hands in order to feel confident, in order to neutralize the gun. You're going to get anchored to the gun, and if he pulls the gun, when you're grabbing with two hands, you're gonna be okay, which in one hand, you're gonna be in a serious problem. Thank you guys for joining our Krav Maga class. You guys can stay tuned and check out our Facebook and YouTube page and learn more Krav Maga tips and lessons. Thank you. Hey guys, Owen Malul here. Today we're going to discuss the main differences between traditional martial arts and competitive fighting sports to Krav Maga. We're going to compare between them and see how effective they are to real-life scenarios when you need to defend yourself. Okay guys, our next move is going to be a very classic hand grab. We're going to show what I personally learned in classic Krav as a child and as an adult, and what do I teach right now in my school. Let's start. So here is grabbing me with a parallel hand, and the technique looks like that. I'm not going to be grabbing me with the other hand, diagonal hand. Okay, the technique is going to be looking like that. You're going to be holding with two hands, up, two hands up. Now pay attention what happened here. He was grabbing with parallel hand and I did one technique. That means I went with my own elbow towards his hand, okay? Then he grabbed with the other hand and I did a completely different technique, even though it's not a complicated one. But here what I did is sliding towards the opening, which the concept is true, but soon we're gonna show you how we upgraded it. Two hands up, right? One, two hands down. That's actually similar. And then we have what we call two hands from down when the forearms are together, when I'm grabbing from here and going here. Okay, now let's see what we're teaching in our school. Grab me with whatever hands you want. Grab me with whatever hands you want. Okay, one more time. Yeah, I can go from here. You can also add an elbow from here. So pay attention, I'm repeating the same technique. And this is an important concept in Krav Maga. What we want is minimum defense against maximum attack. So instead of, when he's grabbing me, to think, oh, should I go with elbow to elbow or should I go towards the opening? We just go with the one technique that's going to work. And also think about it, guys. Naturally, if you're holding me one hand and the attacker, we assume that he's usually stronger and bigger. Imagine Leo here, which is tall and strong, holding a woman, and she's trying to do this defend. More likely, she's going to try to use her free hand, of course, if she can, to perform the move. And this is important to mention that those techniques are not to neutralize and escalate the situation. It's simply to release the hold. Maybe it happened in a bar, in a club, a public place that you do not want to escalate and create violence. Okay, so one technique different than we can say three techniques that we had in classic Krav, which is 1, 2, and then two hands up and down, which is the same technique, just opposite, and one more, so 4 techniques. Hip, right? And we have one technique that all we do, does not matter how he holds me, I'm always gonna go hold my own hand and pull up towards my thumb, give an elbow, up, give an elbow, give an elbow. Okay, down here I do not need to give an elbow, I can open a little bit, but it's the same concept. Thumbs, his thumbs now are down because he switched the hold, and I'm gonna go down. So guys, all we want here is to understand the map of thinking, the concepts in Krav Maga. Instead of learning a lot of defenses and techniques, and in real life situation think, oh, which technique is that one? And it will take too long, too much information to process. We have one technique that works on the same principle. What is the principle that we did here? Leo, please show your hand. So here we have those 4 fingers are together as a group, and one outsider, we'll call it, the thumb, who is a separated joint, okay? And the thumb is the base of each hold. If you're holding my hand, okay, the base of it is the thumb. If you're gonna hold me without the thumbs, all I gotta do is this. Same if you're choking, okay, the base is the thumbs. If you're going to choke me without the thumbs, okay, what we always joke in class, we call it a massage. Okay, so from here, if I do this to Leo, this is not a real choke. The thumbs are the one who are blocking the air, preventing oxygen to go through your windpipe. So same idea. You just have to understand the concept. You always have to go on the weakest part, on the source of the grip, of the hold, which is the thumb. Boom, towards the thumb. And if he twists and holds me here, his thumb is down. So I'm gonna have to go down. And this is the whole concept in hand grab, and you'll see later on when we're gonna be talking about choking as well, it's always going to be towards the thumb. Okay guys, we're gonna go over all those 4 moves, 4 techniques we showed you and conclude them. First technique was a technique that comes from Aikido. We compare between the Aikido world to the Krav Maga and realistic self-defense world and explained you the difference in both worlds. We showed you that a defense against a hand grab in Aikido, which is called Shionage, will be less effective for a real life scenario when you have to defend yourself, because in Aikido there is a rule that the partner is following your own motion, and on the street the person in front of you is reacting. So if you try to move behind him, he's simply going to pull the hand or resist, and trying to process information from so many different techniques on the street under pressure would be less effective. We showed you the Krav Maga defense, which is simple, easy, and one defense only against all hand grabs. The second technique, also from the Aikido world, was Kote Geishi, against a defense against a punch that goes towards the stomach. We talked about it and we explained that in real life, when the person is going towards your stomach or towards your head, you have no idea if it's a punch or if his hands are behind his back, maybe it's a knife. So it's really hard to know what to expect in real life, which in Aikido, knife will be less common, and if you will perform the Aikido move, might get into trouble of getting stabbed towards the stomach. Trying to grab the hand in the Aikido move is really hard in motion, under adrenaline. To grab someone's hand while he is stabbing you will be very, very difficult. And again, trying to use his own momentum, which the Aikido concepts are, trying to use the energy of the person against him, is not always effective, as the person, again, will resist to you and not necessarily will let you do your move like you do in your dojo and your gym while training. The third and fourth move we showed you was a comparison between classic Krav Maga, which I personally learned as a kid and adult, to Krav Maga, which is evolving and what we teach in our own school. We showed you a defense against a stab that comes from up, which Krav Maga tries to grab the hand, defense, punch, then grab the hand, the classic, then try to maybe create an arm lock in order to take the knife. We explained that when you grab someone's hand, he's simply going to pull it, especially if he has a knife. Imagine someone will hold your own hand or will hold your, trying to get your phone. You're simply going to pull this object back because this is the human instinct. We also talked about doing a defense and attack simultaneously, which on one hand is good. On the second hand, if you want to neutralize him, he's going to move away after this punch and you have nothing to grab. So what we do in our class is diving in, wrapping the hand of the attacker, which you're closing the distance really surprisingly and effectively. He's not going to be able to pull the hand because you're already wrapped the hand that he's attacking, continuing with your own attacks. So what I believe in is, guy, instead of defending and attacking simultaneously, first take care of the threat. Right? If you can attack simultaneously, is great, but sometimes you're not able to because you have to take care of the threat first, then you're going to go and attack. So first, a priority is to neutralize the threat, make sure it is not getting to you. Fourth technique we showed you guys was very simple defense against hand grab that comes from classic Krav. Then we showed you again what we teach in our own school. One technique what we teach in our school compared to 4 different techniques that classic Krav Maga has. So what the idea is showing you that even in the Krav Maga world, which was evolving from, of course, taking from different martial arts and trying to make it real, even the Krav Maga world, you have to be open-minded, learn from anyone around you, and always try to implement the most effective techniques to daily life threats. Thank you guys for joining our Krav Maga class. You guys can stay tuned and check out our Facebook and YouTube page and learn more Krav Maga tips and lessons. Thank you. Hey guys, On Malou here. After watching and analyzing over 100 real-life scenarios caught on tape, we decided to go over all those videos, analyze them, and find for you the 8 most common scenarios in a street fight. We came to the conclusion that if you're gonna learn and master all those 8 scenarios, you have a high chance to be able to defend yourself in a real street fight. So after watching all those videos and analyzing them, we came to the conclusion that there is one scenario that is by far the most common scenario in a street fight, and those are punches. We're gonna call Leo and watch a couple of videos together and teach you guys how to defend yourself against punches. So let's watch together. So here we're seeing a scenario when 2 guys are in a gas station, and here he knocks out the guy, punch to the face. Right away, he falls to the ground. When a guy is abusing a woman on the street, caught on a security camera, and you can see how out of nowhere he is punching her to the face and she falls to the ground. Here we have another scenario caught in a street fight. There are 2 guys fighting, and those swinging punches to the face with one hand. A bouncer in a nightclub escape from one punch and goes knock out the guy. Another scenario caught in the security camera when out of nowhere there is a punch to the face and the person falls right away to the street, lose consciousness. And another one punch that brings the person to the ground, then he kicks him. So when we talk about punches, we can divide them to 3 categories. First one is a classic punch that comes all the way from back, swings to the face with one hand, sometimes hits the person, sometimes not, but is the punch that we usually see, the most common one on the street, boom, to the face. Second one are actually multiple attacks with one and then the second hand that goes quick to the face, and the third one is actually a punch that the person gets to the face and he's walking back, maybe putting his hands to cover his face, and the person again is continuing with 2 or 1 arm. So we're gonna teach you step by step each of these scenarios. Let's start with the first one, okay? So as we said, the swinging motions that comes to the face, which we always say that is way far the most common attack in a street fight. It also represents not just a punch. This motion could represent as well a slap. We'll see later on also a knife stab or a bottle of beer. So all those motions, those swinging motions that comes from the outside into the person's face are really, really common, as we said, and definitely represent more than punch. It can also be a hair grab, shirt, all those motions that comes to the person's upper body, okay? So what do we do against them when we see them? They come fast to the face, and if we don't do something quick enough, we might just get a knockout, as we see in our videos, and the person finishing on the ground, which we don't want to be on the ground. So, Leo, you're going to be attacking me, and we're going to show you step by step how to handle this scenario. So as you see, Leo is swinging his hands towards my face. I'm defending. From here, I can punch. I can go with a palm strike. And later on, I can also wrap the hand and continue with attacks in order to neutralize his hand. One more time, step by step. So as you guys can see in our videos as well, most cases, the person is not punching right away to the face like a professional boxer. These punches are really hard to see when out of a conversation, boom, there is a jab or a cross that goes direct, straight line to the face. Really hard to see. But definitely most cases, as we were able to see in most of the scenarios, the person tried to gather energy, which is the natural motion of a person, trying to get as much momentum and energy as possible and drive it to the person's face. Even though we understand that if you want to attack another person for self-defense purposes, this attack takes long and easy to see, but it's definitely the most common one we see out there. So if you're seeing this kind of move, instead of just, covering your face and trying to face your back when we see a lot of people doing it, you actually have the time to react. When he's loading the punch, boom, just simply react with your own instincts. Human beings have almost all the same instincts. If I'm gonna attack Leo this way, pay attention, he's going to react that way. Boom, boom, boom. So in Krav Maga, we do not really teach you to defend. We're only telling you guys, please use your own natural motions first, because in a street fight, you don't have the time to think, whoa, what did I learn in my self-defense class? You're simply gonna have to use your instincts. Of course, you're gonna have to train on them, perfect them, and learn how to continue. So one more time, use your own instincts when you see this swinging motion to the face. Create a solid defense, 90-degree angle, open those fingers, and then you can continue with pump strikes or punches. What's important is also to create an angle moving away from the punch, boom, and then continue with defend and attack, counter attack. And if you can neutralize the hand, even in the case in the second punch, whoa, neutralize, dive in, and from here, if he wants to give me another punch, this hand is already neutralized, boom. So in this episode, we talked about the most common attack in a street fight, punches. We spoke about the part when there is a swing with one hand towards the face. We showed you how to defend yourself. We explained to you that if you're surprised with a punch, the only thing you have to do when you're surprised is simply defend with your own instincts and continue with counter attack, and later on, if possible, dive in order to neutralize and control the attacking hand. Thank you guys for joining our Krav Maga class. You guys can stay tuned and check out our Facebook and YouTube page and learn more Krav Maga tips and lessons. Thank you. Hey guys, Owen Malul here. Today we're going to discuss the main differences between traditional martial arts and competitive fighting sports to Krav Maga. We're going to compare between them and see how effective they are to real-life scenarios when you need to defend yourself. Okay guys, our next move actually comes from classic Krav Maga. Now before we dive right into this move, I would like to tell you a little bit about my own background in Krav Maga. I've been practicing Krav Maga for the last 24 years of my life, from the first organization called Kami, which comes actually from the founder of Krav Maga, Emil Lichtenfeld. Now, I myself did not have the honor to meet Emil Lichtenfeld, but I did have the honor to meet his first student named Elia Wichser in seminars, classes. I've been training with him as a kid. Later on, as an adult, Elia Wichser passed away, and Krav Maga started to split to different small organizations. Each one took it to his own directions. Now, what I'm here to tell you guys, even though I come from the source of Krav Maga, the most original and authentic stream of Krav Maga that comes right from the founder, Emil Lichtenfeld, even though what we've been learned from my own instructor as a kid, myself and the other students, that Krav Maga always needs to be checked and if needed, updated. There's no one technique that needs to be transferred from generation to the generation, to the master, to his student, etc. The idea of Krav Maga is basically taking moves from different martial arts, open your mind, and form the most effective, the most realistic system of self-defense. This is not a martial art, there is nothing artistic in it, it's not a sport. There are no rules, there is no judge. The idea of Krav Maga is basically to bring you the best techniques. That's why, even if your instructor is teaching you a certain move, there is always a possibility to be with open mind and check, is this move really going to work in reality? And if not, maybe adopt another move. That's the idea and that's the philosophy of Krav Maga. And me, myself, basically what I'm taking into my own business, into my own school, is even the techniques I've been learning from my own instructor and even the classic moves that comes from Krav Maga, always to be able to check them, be humble enough, and learn from anyone. I've been learning moves from different people around the world, from my own students, and if they're going to be effective for reality, I'm going to teach it to my own students. So let's dive into this move and see, how do I teach in my school? Okay, so classic Krav Maga move against a stub that goes towards the stomach. One more time, I will explain what happened here. The guy is stabbing me towards the stomach. I'm going with an inside defense with my forearm. Right after, grabbing and striking. Grabbing his hand, striking. After that, going for a full grip, strike, kick, and from here I can continue. Arm with an arm lock to the ground, or simply when he's standing up, taking the knife, okay? Now, let's dive a little bit deeper into this move and see if in reality is going to be always effective against a stub that goes straight. So we have to understand that in Krav Maga we have different defenses, what we call an outside defense and as an inside defense. If Leo is going to go and attack me with a punch or even with a knife, from the outside in, I'm going to have to use what we call an outside defense. If Leo is going to go towards my face, whoop, I'm going to have to use what we call an inside defense. So this was the kind of rule that we always followed in Krav Maga. If the attack is outside of your hands, always go with an outside defense. If the attack is inside of your hand, whoa, always go with an inside defense, which means the shortest move is always the best move. What I realized that is when an attacker goes and stabs you straight, he can go to the stomach, he can go to the chest, he can go to the throat, head area, and sometimes when things happen fast again, you're not able too much to realize if it goes stomach or even lower than stomach towards the legs, boom. And in a real life scenario, when everything is happening fast, when he's gonna go lower, sometimes, oh, as you can see, I might miss. So now you're gonna be going instead towards of my chest, for example, oh, lower than that. So let's try to do it one more time. I'm assuming here, you have to understand, in martial art, one of the things in a training is, okay, you're gonna give me this punch, I'm gonna do this defense. You're gonna stop me down, I'm gonna do this defense, which in reality does not necessarily happen. Your attacker is not telling you, I'm going to attack you in this manner. So now as Leo, I'm assuming he goes towards my stomach, okay? And he's gonna go even a little bit lower now. Okay, one more time. Pay attention. I'm gonna do the classic move of Krav Maga and pay attention that I still get a stab towards my leg, pelvis area. One more time. If he's going to go towards my chest, the inside defense might be effective. But one more time. In a real-time scenario, suddenly he can go down lower than that. When I think he goes toward my chest and he's actually going towards my stomach or lower, that might be a problem. I get the stab, and the moment I get the stab, he is of course the advantage. What we're going to show you is the way we teach in our school, one move that's going to be able to stop this stab if it goes to the chest, throat, stomach, and even lower than that. Okay, so here I am, maybe even seeing the attacker with a knife. If I see him, I can bring my hands up. If not, it can be done from here. Leo, attack. Hop. Now what I want you, Leo, to do is to stab me. Stomach, chest, throat, lower body, legs, whatever you want. Try to touch, Leo. So as you guys saw, I always did the same move, which is an outside defense. Now, on one hand, the outside defense is a longer move. On the other hand, as you see, it will always work. With analyzing the move, what I also noticed is that the outside defense is sometimes even more natural than the inside defense. When a person's hands are close to his body, many times, instead of doing an inside defense, which looks like this, a person is doing kind of this move. Same move if you're going to kick me, by the way. The other leg is going to be exactly the same move. So what's so great about this move is he can stab, he can kick, he can punch, and I'm always going to be repeating the same move. Does not matter if he goes to my chest, stomach, or even lower than that. Which in the Krav Maga classic move with the knife, if I am doing the defend when he goes to my chest, might work. But if he goes lower than that, I might get into trouble. Not speaking about what happens after the move, grabbing, which in our school we less believe in grabbing, because when you grab a person's hand with a knife, the most natural way for him is simply pulling it. So what we have to transfer you guys here, always be with an open mind. Check yourself, check the moves of your instructors. If you're dealing with real Krav Maga, with real self-defense, you should always update yourself. As we said, be with an open mind and try to create the best thing that will able to defend yourself. Thank you guys for joining our Krav Maga class. You guys can stay tuned and check out our Facebook and YouTube page and learn more Krav Maga tips and lessons. Thank you. Hey guys, On Malul here. After watching and analyzing over 100 real-life scenarios caught on tape, we decided to go over all those videos, analyze them, and find for you the 8 most common scenarios in a street fight. We came to the conclusion that if you're gonna learn and master all those 8 scenarios, you have a high chance to be able to defend yourself in a real street fight. There is statistics. In a street fight, if you do not defend yourself quick enough, 50% of the time, you're gonna reach the ground. We just covered punches, and we saw that in many cases, you get to the ground if you're not able to defend yourself against the first or the second punch, getting knocked out. What do you do then? You reach the ground. Leo, let's watch a couple of videos of a person getting the ground after a punch, or simply being attacked when he falls to the ground. So here are a couple of the scenarios. We actually watched the 2 guys in the gas station, and you can see the punch that brings the person, boom, to the ground. And here is on the ground, and those punches are continuing. So here it's already a ground scenario. Another scenario when 2 guys are fighting on the ground, you can see a side headlock. Knees go up on a mount on him. And here another scenario watched after those punches. Knockout. How should you continue when you're on the ground? Here we are after this first punch, knocked down, and he continues, the attacker continues with a kick to the face, and the second person reached the ground. You got to the ground, maybe the person throw you to the ground or punches as we spoke. You're on the ground. Usually first thing is you can see, boom, the person is in front of you. You have those legs, use them to your advantage. He is on his legs and you can throw those kicks usually to those knees. If he's closer, even groin. And if he gets really close, boom! Use those legs to create distance to the face. Most people, what they do here is when the persons come, they sometimes try to cover their face even more. And then again, you're not able to see the attacker and you're in trouble. So here, what we call ground techniques, use your legs. If he moves, move with him. Well, you can put yourself in what we call a side stance from here. You're having an easier time also to kick, side kicks. Also when he moves to the other direction, for example, whoa, to move here, he's trying to reach your face, right? Leo, try to reach my face a little bit. Boom, from here, from there. So you're gonna have to play between the back